Hey, how's it going there, chemistry student? Welcome back to the final lesson of Unit 1. Today we'll be talking about Skill 1.6. If we look at 1.6, here's what it says. I can apply the relationship between mass, volume, and density to solve mathematical problems. So let's toggle back to our screen and let's get started. When we think of this learning target, a very specific equation has to appear in our heads, and this is what it has to be. D equals m over v. And what this stands for is density is equal to mass divided by volume. Out of this equation, we can actually get three equations, and we're going to see that here in just a second. The way the equation currently sits, it's solving for density, but we can also solve for mass and volume. So we're going to go ahead and do some simple algebra and try to show these two other equations. So let's solve for mass now. So here's what we have to do. We're going to multiply by v on both sides. And what that's going to do is get rid of this v here. And we can rearrange the equation. So now it says mass is equal to density times volume. Now we're going to go ahead, erase our previous work, and solve for volume now. So here's what we have to do. We have to multiply by 1 over m on both sides. And what this will do is these m's will cancel. And here's what we're going to get. 1 over volume is equal to density divided by mass. Here's the last step. We have to take the reciprocal, and all that means is we're going to switch both fractions upside down. So here's our final step. We're going to get v is equal to m over d. And here's our final equation. Let's go ahead and let's write that down here. v is equal to mass over density. Now we'll go ahead and erase some of our work so we can easily identify the three equations here. So this first equation here solves for density. This second equation will solve for mass. And this third equation will solve for volume. And as we read density problems, we'll have to decide which one of these three equations we'll need for a given problem. Over to the right of the screen here is something called the density triangle. And this is a really easy way of remembering these three equations off to the left. And basically, the way the density triangle works is that when you cover a letter, you set it equal to the following equation that's right next to it, okay? So for example, if we cover D, what it's telling us to do is to divide mass by volume. And there would be our first equation. If we cover M, what it's telling us to do is M is equal to density times volume, which we see on our left. And if we cover V, what it's telling us to do is to set V equal to mass divided by density, which we also see on our left. Again, this is a really easy way of remembering the three equations, but is not a substitute to understanding how we derived our three equations. As I scroll to the bottom here, what we see is that we have some metal cubes off to the side, and there are three questions that use the density equation to solve for some information involving these cubes. Something you will definitely want to have on hand is a calculator for fractional computations. And another piece of advice I can give is, as you read these problems, you'll notice that it will always give us two givens. And what that'll help us do is solve for the missing variable. We'll have to make a choice between what they've given us and what equation we can use from the top, and then we'll be able to successfully solve the problem. Let's go ahead and solve the first problem. So here's what it says. It says the density of the gold cube here on the right is 19.3 grams per centimeters cubed, and the mass is 38.6 grams. Find its volume. So here's what they've given us. Grams per centimeters cubed tells me that this is density. They've told us its mass, but if we didn't know that, we saw that these units have to do with grams, so that is a mass. And they want to solve for volume. So what it looks like we're going to do is pick this last equation here off the top. So let's go ahead and write that down. Volume is equal to mass divided by density. Let's plug in our numbers for mass and density. So our mass is 38.6. Our density is 19.3. At this point, we grab our calculator. Let's do it together. So 38.6 divided by 19.3. Our answer is going to be 2 centimeters cubed. So what they're telling us is that this gold cube is 2 by 2 by 2. All right, let's keep going to the next problem. The mass of the copper cube is 17.92 grams and its volume is 2 centimeters cubed. Find its density. So they've given us a mass. They've given us a volume. They want to find D. So let's figure out what equation we need. So we'll scroll back to the top. Which one solves for density? Well, it's going to be this top one right here. So we're going to copy this guy down here at the bottom. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. Let's go ahead and plug in our numbers. Mass is 17.92. Volume is 2 centimeters squared. Let's take out our calculator. Let's punch these guys in now. 17.92 divided by 2 gives us a density of 8.96. And what should the units be? Grams per centimeters cubed. So this copper cube here we can label as a density of 8.96 grams per centimeter cubed. All right, and let's now move on to the last one. So it says the density of the aluminum cube is 2.7 grams per centimeters cubed, and its volume is 2 centimeters cubed. Find its mass. So now we're looking for the equation that solves for mass, all right? And what that looks like to me is equation number 2. So we're going to go ahead and copy this guy down. And let's label what they've given us here. So this is density. This is volume, and if we multiply them together, what we should get is the mass. So let's go ahead, let's fill in these numbers. So we're going to do 2.7 times 2. We'll take our calculator here. 2.7 times 2 gives us a mass of 5.4 grams. So what we just solved for is that this aluminum cube here is going to be 5.4 grams. So just to recap this video, there's kind of 3 steps that we've talked about. When doing a density problem, step 1, list 3 equations. Step number 2, decide which one is needed. Step number 3. Compute and add proper units. Compute and add correct units. This would be a good time to pause the video, write these things down here at the bottom into a notebook, write down the density triangle or the 3 equations from the top. And as always, thank you for watching the video and have a great day.